All right. Salakia. Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Recha, Quadash. Double honors and salutations to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much respect to you brothers out on the highways and byways pushing this truth with fear and sincerity, and shalom to the hopeful elect. It's your brother Khalakar come back at you with another video, and follow the money. Coming back with a quick one. Today, the UAE said they was leaving OPEC. If you don't know what OPEC is, it's basically a oil distributor, right? As a matter of fact, let's do this. What is OPEC? So OPEC stands for Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. It says an intergovernmental organization founded in 1960 to coordinate petroleum policies and stabilize oil markets. Its function as a cartel to manage oil production levels among members, including Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, to secure steady income and fair returns for oil-producing nations. So basically, it's the overseer of the way how oil is distributed, who can buy what, how much they can buy, how much they can produce, and whatnot. So you have the UAE, right, leaving OPEC, right, with the Strait of Hormuz has been a blockage, and Iran won't do this, and America saying they're blocking it, and a lot of energy crisis is going throughout the world. Places like the Philippines, other places where there's no gas, there's no natural gas, there's no, it's hurting a lot of countries. So with them pulling out, right, they can produce as much as they want, and they can sell to whoever they want and make their money, right? As I believe the UAE, let's see, the UAE ranks maybe fourth. UAE rank in oil production. Seventh. So it says as of 2024 to 2026, the UAE is a top 10 global oil producer, generally ranking around about 7th worldwide, with a production of roughly 4.16 to 4.5 barrels per day, including crude and other liquids. It is the third largest producer in OPEC, behind Saudi Arabia and Iraq. So it's a big producer in oil, and now this big producer in oil, the third, right, is leaving to open up, more oil production, because they see that this is taking a crunch on the world because of the fighting of Iran and America, fighting over the Strait. Let's listen to this video real quick. We'll get into it.
OPEC suffered a heavy blow on Tuesday when the United Arab Emirates announced it had quit the oil exporting group. The stunning loss of the UAE, a long-standing OPEC and OPEC Plus member, could sow disarray and weaken the energy-producing bloc. Jorge Leon is the head of geopolitical analysis at Rystad Energy and a former OPEC officer in Vienna. He told Reuters the move by the UAE highlights a growing regional divide.
I think we see two clearly differentiated groups. On the one hand, we have Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey, which are forcing themselves as the energy the security leaders in the region. And on the other hand, as you correctly mentioned, you have the UAE, which is with close links with India, Israel, and the US.
UAE Energy Minister Suhail Mohammed Al-Mazrouei told Reuters the decision was taken after a careful look at the regional powers' energy strategies. He said, quote, "This is a policy decision and has been done after a careful look at current and future policies related to level of production." Mazrouei added the move would not have a huge impact on the market because of the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. It comes at a time when the Iran war has caused an historic energy shock and unsettled the global economy. OPEC Gulf producers have already been struggling to ship exports through the Strait of Hormuz, but the narrow choke point between Iran and Oman that once carried 1/5 of the globe's crude oil and liquefied natural gas has been effectively closed since the U.S. and Israel attacked Tehran at the end of February. Once the strait reopens, however, the UAE could significantly boost its exports.
And I think that what this really means for oil markets is that we're likely to see much more production from the UAE coming forward, and that would mean lower oil prices in the medium and long term.
The UAE exit from OPEC represents a big win for U.S. President Donald Trump, who has accused the organization of, quote, ripping off the rest of the world by inflating oil prices. Trump has also linked U.S. military support for the Gulf with oil prices, saying that while the U.S. defends OPEC members, they, quote, exploit this by imposing high oil prices.
So, Trump thinks that because of that, because they're leaving, it's gonna, help the U.S. in some way. The UAE is going to help the U.S. They're going to be able to buy oil, right? They can, be able to supply oil and, bring down gas prices or whatnot. But that's not going to be the case, right? Because I got this right here from X. It says Saudi Arabia and the UAE wants to sell oil with Chinese yuan, instead of the U.S. dollar. Insiders say they left OPEC to do this. This means the U.S. will lose trillions of dollars in oil transactions. Something extremely bad is happening, and this is not going to, fully tank the dollar, but these, once they start to produce this oil by any means, by the way they want to, what it's going to do is open up, right, these other countries to buying oil in their countries, currency, right? And not only that, the BRICS currency, right? Because don't sleep on BRICS, right? Even though we know this is not going to tank the dollar, like the dollar is still going to be here, but what is happening is Babylon, right? America is losing that grip, right? Babylon's economic decline and the rising of these kings of the East, right? As the scripture says, prepared the kings of the East. This is BRIC nations. It says BRICS is a intergovernmental organization of major emerging economies. Originally Brazil, Russia, China, India, and South Africa, that expanded in 2024-2025 to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the EAU, and Indonesia. So best believe that the EAU is thinking of trading outside of the dollar, right? They obviously, through all of this, the starting war with Iran, and shutting down the Strait of Hormuz and going back and forth, tit for tat and whatnot. These other countries are looking like, look, I'm not going to get behind this and lose money, right? We're going to shift, right? We're going to shift our economic stance, right, elsewhere, so we can make money, so we can get around this, so we can go around this, because all Neuro 47 is saying is like, if you do this, if you do that, I'm gonna sanction you. I'm gonna sanction this and sanction you. Well, there's the different currencies out there, and it's giving the dollar a run for its money, right? Which all that's going to do is here in America, right? Babylon the Great, right? Because they produce oil here as well. But if America has to use its own oil, right? So stockpile of oil and whatnot, and can't buy oil from these other countries, right? As far as here it is, these other countries are selling a barrel of oil, right, for low in a digital currency and whatnot, and the U.S. trying to buy it, and the USD, right? It's going to be tremendous amounts to buy it, right? They're not going to just sell it for pennies. They're going to upcharge it because of the debt, right? As a matter of fact, let's get a scripture. Habakkuk 2 and verse 6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him?" Right there, and that's what these nations are doing. They're taking up a parable against Babylon the Great, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, "Woe to him!" Right, destruction to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long to him that laden himself with thick clay? And that thick clay, we obviously know it goes into debt, right? Because America it's insolvent. It's insolvent. Here, let me America's debt. Meaning it can't pay no bill. Right? It says as of April 2026, the total U.S. national debt is approximately 38.95 trillion to 39 trillion. This represents the total outstanding federal borrowing, which has increased rapidly from 35.5 trillion in 2024 to cover budget's defects. The debt is projected to rise 58 trillion within a decade. And Lord willing, we're not around here in 10 more years. I don't think we will be. Right? We only got literally, it looks like it's only a couple of years. Lord willing, to be next year. But nevertheless, America's in a tremendous amount of debt. Right? That thick clay. And they're not getting out of that thick clay, right? Where was I? Slovakia. But yeah, going back to BRICS Nation, right? This is a toll to have all of these nations, band up together and go against this hoe, right? Let's get another scripture. Let's get Jeremiah, because what is happening is you seeing the decline, right? They're trying to establish this new global, one world currency, right? This new, basically, this new world order, right? Which is, one world currency, one government, one religion, right? And you can see it from the standpoint of the three unclean spirits, right? You got the military, right? You got the financial that's in London, England, and then you got the Vatican Church, right? And you got like I said, the military that's in D.C. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance." Right? Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right? So these nations are looking at this place like, we don't care. China is saying, look, you can sanction us 200% tariffs. We do not care. We're buying oil in UN, right? And that's becoming, more and more, right? As the kings of the East is being prepared, right? Revelation 16 and 12. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared, right? As you keep seeing every year, right, the Euphrates is drying up, fish jumping out of it, right? As that more and more happening, the ways of the kings of the way of the kings of the east is being prepared. It says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Right? These, like I was just going over, right? These are the power structure that's in the earth today. Right? You got the military that's in DC, you got the London, England, the financial capital, you got the Vatican City, which is the false prophet. Right? They are gonna, work together to get to what? This new world order. But we know Babylon, right, is on the way out, right? And you can see it plain as day as these other nations are trading in different currencies, right? The USD used to be the top dog, but now, right, you have countries that's saying, look, we're going to produce oil, but more than likely, we're not going to sit here and say we're going to, right, sell you this oil for the cheap. No, we're finna sell you this oil for, look what you started. Look what you've done, right? You've put us in a lot of countries and a lot of people in financial strain, which more importantly, it goes into them putting up this system, right? This beast system, the image of the beast, which it all leads to what? The MOTB, the mark of the beast, right? So it's a ploy, right? It's a coup in a way, but right, if you're not spiritually discerned, if you're not watching for the times, if you don't know the prophecies, if you don't understand, you would think, oh, this is going to be a win for America, and we're going to get down to lower gas prices, and just like, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. Your cost of living will still continue to go up. Everything will still continue to go up, right? Everything will still continue to go up. As the oil trades, the rise of China and the diversification, of the dollar, right? This place is being weakening from all angles. And, the water Yahweh Shemi Al-Shah, that we can, he gave us the understanding, the eyes to see, right? The ears to hear, starting with our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone to show us these things to, and now we see it, right? We see it just as plain as day, just like they see it, right? So the water Yahweh Shemi Al-Shah, can't say that enough, because this place, Babylon the Great, right, is taking that back seat. As a matter of fact, let me get Revelation 18. I'm gonna start at 11. Revelation 18:11. It says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all the fine wood and all the manner of vessels of ivory and all the manner of vessels of precious wood and of brass and of iron and of marble and of cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and men and souls of men. And the fruits that thou soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made her rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing," right? And that goes hand in hand, I think, with Ezekiel 27, right? Towards the latter end. Ezekiel 27, because when you go into Ezekiel 27, it talks about Tyrus, Salakia, and going into how they was big merchants, and they was merchants and traders to pretty much everybody in that region, right? This is Ezekiel 27, and let me start at 33. It says, "When thy wares went forth out of the seas, thou fillest many people. Thou didst enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of thy riches, of thy merchandise. In a time when thou shalt be broken by the seas and the depths of the waters, thy merchandise and all thy company in the midst of thee shall fall. All the inhabitants of the isles shall be astonished at thee, and their kings shall be sore afraid. They shall be troubled in their countenance. It says, the merchants among the people shall hiss at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shall be no more. And that's talking to Babylon, modern day Babylon, right? With all of this commotion, you with Iran, and you back and forth with China and saying this and that. It's just a recipe for disaster, right? A recipe for disaster, because we know this place is going to be destroyed in 1 hour, right? But as the Lord, as each day goes on and on, right, this system has been dismantled, right? It's been ripped apart, right? You got Democrats and Republicans, the plebeians and patricians fighting back and forth. It's the Democrats' fault. It's this fault. You got false flags and fake assassination attempts, going on. You got, people being boldly basically racist against, each other, right? Mainly the Esau Edom, right? Showing his horns and whatnot. You got, the cost of living, people becoming, poor and poorer and less money. The rich are getting richer, the poor getting poorer. More just confusion inside of Babylon the Great. It's just a whole complete mess, and we can see it like it's nothing, right? We can see it like it's nothing. But at the end of the day, this is the will of the Lord, is to destroy this place. So he's going to do it slowly, and then it's going to be that final, that day of the Lord, that one, boom, gone, right? That one day. So, I hope you was edified. I hope you got something out of this. This was quick, straight to the point. Hope to see you on the next video, Lord.